During the pandemic, when everybody was forced to sit down, a lot of people had an encounter with themselves. And they were either able to go deeper within the things that they like, or maybe you were put in a place of discomfort where you had to deal with some things or some people or situations that you were running from and using work and things on the outside to cope. And during that time, more than ever, I realized that your normal everyday people showed a lot of similarities to the individuals that I knew that were used to having mental health struggles for the majority of their lives. And that's when it hit me how an idea that has fear, uncertainty, can quickly bring out disorder, disarray, and dysfunction to anybody. And a lot of people's idea of control, their life, and their own personhood could be crushed under an idea. The pandemic really made me sit down, and it revealed to me some deep understandings about our systems as a whole, but most notably the psych ward. And I took a trip on the pandemic when you could only go to certain countries, and I went somewhere in Africa with my family for about a month to kind of escape the media noise, the hustle and bustle, the fear, the uncertainty, just to get some peace, some quiet. And I was grateful to be able to do that. But during my plane ride, as I flew over America and I looked down below at the grid of everything, I had a revelation that changed the way I saw psych wards, this country, myself, and my place in it. And I want to share that with y'all today. Welcome back to Jay's Psych Ward Stories.
We are living in a psych ward. I'm quite sure this is psych ward. I'm quite sure.
So I've been on a plane tons of times, and I remember the first time I ever rode on a plane, I wanted a window seat so I can look at how high we were in the air and just what the earth looked like. That really interested me. And because we were heading somewhere international, especially to the motherland, my anticipation was deep. But as I looked down out the window, I saw the grid lines and I could see kind of the expanse of where I lived. And for the first time, I had a different perspective of where I fit in the narrative of that grid. Because from the ground, I wouldn't perceive that I was in a big old square shape. From the ground, I was kind of in a ecosystem that didn't seem so set up, that didn't seem so planned. And when I looked at that below, I said, wow, whoever made this grid, where communities are, where our stores are, where our parks are, this was strategically planned out. But I don't live my life, nor do a lot of people, with the awareness that they're within a planned out grid that does not feel as cagey as it looks from above. But from above, when you see how everything works, you're able to see yourself within that system. And at first, I felt like, dang, this is just a decorated cage where I have everything that I need perceptually, and I don't have any awareness of my neighbors across the community. I can see the divide between the haves and the have-nots. And this feeling that I experience is actually something that astronauts experience when they go high above and see the Earth. They kind of have this revelation that we are all one human race. We all share this entire globe. It kind of simplifies our existence, because you realize everything we share and the illusions of the things that keep us divided. But if everybody were to have a zoomed out perspective, could we move and navigate beyond the borders in a way that benefits us more than our limited perceptions? So when I started thinking about the psych ward, I said, wow, it's the same thing. How many patients go into these institutions not having a full view of where they're navigating in the system, but they're within a planned out grid, often only having the wherewithal to be cognizant of what's in front of them. When I worked in the psych ward, I, through my experiences, was able to get a mental mapping of what this system looked like and what every patient would have to undergo and go through according to their situation to get to their goal of having control of their mental health and having a life worth living to themselves. Generally, people enter through the same way. You have an episode that disrupts you from your everyday life. You seek professional help from people that understand certain things that maybe you don't. You try some medications that hopefully will work, and you spend some time upping the dosages or downing the dosages or trying this medication, fielding the issue so that you can ultimately land at a good concoction or cocktail that allows you to be the you that you want it to be by chemically addressing whatever is going on inside. But a lot of individuals that I saw go through the psych system in that fashion that I just described don't come out with the control, clarity, and confidence that they thought they'd have. And there's an inner war that happens within their mind, within their bodies, when the medications maybe are going against what they thought, or their side effects are adding new stressors onto their life, like weight gain or too much sleep or disrupted sleep. But because you've made the commitment to go in and to reach the end of figuring this out, and these professionals are telling you that let's try this and let's move this and then you'll get better, you feel that turning back is not an option because you perceive yourself as navigating your mental health journey the best way that you can, with educated people and authorities in our society that we're taught to trust, validating that very thing, even though everything within you feels that that's not the case. And many patients that I've talked to, they acknowledge that there's this resistance. Once they reach a point to where things are not working, they want to give up, the war continues. And for many patients, they're already so far into where the medications are affecting their daily functioning that they can't go out and run on the already sped up treadmill of society, but then they can't even keep up with the treadmill of self. And this doesn't happen for everybody, but unfortunately, a lot of people, because they are vulnerable and because they don't have the resources or the knowledge to get the help that they need, and because society punishes you for falling behind, they give up, they lay down. And the safest place for them to be is a place where they can hold on to the dim hope that if I just keep going, one day I'll get better. But for many people, it doesn't. And as many patients that I've seen go through that very thing, their experience seems to always be to them an individual experience that not many other people are experiencing around them. It's very personal. Mental health is very stigmatized. Not too many people talk about it. So a lot of people don't have access to other individuals that can say, hey, yeah, I've tried this and this is where it's ended for me, or this is the point at which it worked for me, and so that you can try those things too. Now, people might show different symptoms or different variations of degrees of symptoms, but if I were to do a poll, like how many people have ever been depressed before, we can all agree on what that means to whatever degree that you've had depression. And there are probably nuggets of truths that you'd be able to get from people that have experienced depression at different levels than you have. And those people should be talking to each other. But nah, the way the mental health system is set up is much like me flying over the grid of America and seeing society in cubicles isolated from each other, not allowing the oneness factor to come into effect and for people to use that to their advantage. There were certain times where I would have returning patients come to the psych ward, and then when new patients would come and they were just now experiencing mental health issues for the first time, I'd be like, dang, I wish this person was here right now, because that would be a great person for them to talk to. Because there's nothing more isolating than having a mental health crisis. And there's so many things in the system that confirms the belief that you are by yourself and that you need to trust the professional's individual plan for you. And if you use your own faculties to come up with different solutions, or God forbid, you talk to somebody that has dealt with the similar mental health disorder as you, they're not a medical professional and they don't know what they're talking about. So whatever side effects and negativities that they experience, that doesn't mean that you'll experience the same thing. It's a blank slate each time. That never made sense to me. Even while I was working in the psych ward, I knew I was working in the system, but I didn't feel of the system. I didn't feel confident relinquishing patients to the demands of that system. When I ran groups, instead of talking about just medications all the time, because it's okay to take medication, but I think it's even more profound to have an encounter with yourself. Because that's the goal when people are taking medications, to eventually have an encounter with themselves in a way that they can feel confident, controlled, and clear. Things can help you, can aid you, but not make you. And so when I ran my groups, we would have practical conversations around the things that we do practically that impact our nervous system, which affects our mental health. I will always get on patients because we had coffee available, decaf coffee, because if you do the caffeine, it would affect the meds. But the patients would be drinking coffee like it's water, just drinking that over and over again. And I'll be telling patients in group, I saw a lot of y'all drink all that coffee this morning and this afternoon, but how many of you have drank water? Water is gonna flush toxins out of your body and oxygenate your blood properly. And I see you guys taking laps. I see you guys taking notes in groups, but how many of you have actually identified somebody in this ward right now that has a similar struggle as you? and I would talk about the importance of community. Identifying somebody that has made it through what you're going through and maybe is a little farther and you can learn something from them. Identifying somebody who is currently in the struggle like you, where you can motivate each other to keep going and share and encourage one another through seeing each other's struggles and validating one another's experiences. And then maybe having somebody that is struggling more than you, and that can motivate you to help them with a few things and keep yourself on the straight and narrow as well. We need people in our society, but in Western society, it's all about you. But when you're not even connected to the real you and it's constantly fleeting, not only are you going to be at war with yourself, but it's going to be far easier to be at war with other people. And that's the encounter with self a lot of people had when they came home during the pandemic. Because what happens when somebody organizes their life in a way to protect themselves or to protect a narrative, what happens when that crumbles and you have to turn inward, but you don't like what you see, or what you thought was there was not there in the first place? Now you're coming to the psych world for the first time, and I'm greeting you, and you're entering into a system that you always perceptually saw yourself as better than, far from, or that it was irrelevant to you. A lot of what I wanted to share with people was best put into practice outside of the psych ward. And that is why, as I started making these videos and reading people's emails and messages and seeing how so many people had a similar experience but had no perception that this is happening to so many other people, I said, nah. We need to create a community. So I created a community called the Psych Ward Survival Club for people with mental health struggles at various points of their journey, that maybe they've been to the psych ward, or maybe they're trying to avoid going, or they want to go with the knowledge of how the system works. We come together, we have weekly discussions, we share our experiences, we ask questions, we have weekly hangout calls, and I have an entire course called the Psych Ward Survival Guide, where I break down how the system works, things that you need to know, and how to actually go in and win versus go in and have an eternal pursuit of this ideal self that is constantly fleeting. And I don't judge you for trusting the institutions that society has told us will help us. But I do, just like I was on the plane, want to take you up to look at the whole thing so that you can see where you fit in it, so that you can go back in with control, clarity, and confidence as you navigate life, improving upon your mental health. We need each other. We need people. We need other people's experiences. And look at the followers that we have on this platform. Look at the community that we're already building. This isn't because I'm just some special individual. I'm saying things that resonate with you that maybe you've known but you didn't know how to say. Maybe you've been curious about, but finally, like a veil has been lifted and you're able to allow your ideas to flood into a space. Yes, that's exactly what this platform is here for. And I also want you guys to join the school community where people are already over there, like-minded individuals who get it, who are not having stigmatized conversations around mental health. And some of the people that are in there have navigated their mental health so well to the point where they are already giving back and working in psych. And maybe you like to get there one day too, which is why I have another community called the Psych Worker Survival School, where I show you guys my methods, tactics, philosophy of patient care and advocacy so that you can have the right mindset where you're going in trying to help people. Whatever background you come from and struggles that you've dealt with, those lows can be helpful to help people reach heights. But in order to put yourself into this system, you have to understand how it works too, so that you don't experience burnout, so you can know how to shoreline certain things and process. And we have that community for that very reason. We deal with a lot of difficult things in psych, and maybe other people won't understand, and you need to dump that somewhere. Imagine being able to talk to other people who get it in a clear and unfiltered fashion while you're also learning how to navigate, grow, and connect. I don't know if there's any other communities out there doing that, but I think this is a great way to live life and to be glitches in this system. That's why I have Neo as my background on my Facebook profile. That's my favorite movie of all time. Because once you have an encounter with yourself and you see the system for what it is, it doesn't have to impact you in the same way, where it's pulling you down, where it's controlling you, where it's making your idea of self very blurry. I love the part where Neo finally has his encounter with self and discovers that he's the one and starts moving accordingly. And then when the agents of the system tried to shoot, and he just simply lifted his hand and was like, no. Ooh. But that's essentially how I want people to feel equipped. When the system comes at them with the tactics and tools to drain you, to make you feel afraid, to make you feel dependent, you can operate outside of that structure and those things will fall by the wayside. But it takes time. It's not gonna happen overnight, but that's a good thing because it's a fun path of self-discovery and gaining that real control with real people in a real community. And I'll even add this. On the plane, because I saw the grid structure for what it was, I'm able to enjoy it for what it is. Once the illusion was lifted and I saw it for what it is, I was able to navigate accordingly and actually experience a level of freedom that I didn't expect. Because just because I'm in the system, it doesn't mean I'm of the system. That's a bar. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize that we are all living in a psych ward. That's why I have it in my intro the way I do. Actually, I put a whole video on YouTube, a music video that I wrote and directed myself. Because I promise you, real life and real society and real people are not that different from the people that I see in the psych ward. Actually, they're not different at all because people are people, but meaning that the idea that we have, the separation between people that are mentally struggling and what that community might look like versus people that are able to keep on pace with society and have healthy coping skills or whatever it is that they feel that they have until a certain something comes about. That certain something was traumatic to the whole world, but nevertheless, it folded people's fabric of reality permanently for some, and their ability to recover was just as marred and damaged as people that I've seen be institutionalized in psych wards. What do you think about this video? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you join that community or send it to somebody that needs it. Check my description, my links, etc., etc. And as always, like for more stories.